joy is contagious. And if you are fortunate enough to find it effortlessly in things, then you should spread it and you should share it.
Welcome to another episode of the Wichita podcast. My name is Landon. Today's episode is brought to you by Il Primo Espresso Café. If you're looking for a place to study, work, or just stay warm, look no further than Il Primo. With 2 locations now, downtown and at Woodlawn and Central, it makes it convenient to meet up with your friends for coffee. Check out Il Primo today for your coffee fix. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Promise Pouch. With 25% of all car accidents caused by texting and driving, we wanted to help cut this down. Go to ipromisepouch.com to learn more and to buy a pouch for your loved ones. Today's guest is Kelsie Brown. Kelsie is a mom and a blogger at kelsiebrownblog.com and at Kelsie Brown Blog on Instagram. We have known Kelsie for a long time and wanted a chance to tell her story of how she built her blog and what inspires her. Enjoy our conversation with Kelsie Brown. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Landon.
I'm Candace.
And we're here with Kelsie Brown. How are you, Kelsie?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you on FaceTime and talk to you. It's been a while, but
I know, too long.
Yeah, so we've known Kelsie for a long time, but we'll go ahead and just let you. How do you introduce yourself to people? Your mom, you're a blogger. How do you introduce yourself?
Honestly, just as I'm a mom. If people ask what I do, I say mom first, and then I'll say, oh, and I also dabble in these other things like the blog, and I used to be a teacher. And
sure.
That's how I would describe myself.
Awesome. So let's just start back at the beginning. So you grew up in Andover. We all actually went to high school together, which is really awesome. And Candace has known you for a lot longer than that. Kind of grew up as a sister, basically.
Oh, yes.
So can you just walk us through that, high school and up to college and everything?
Yeah, so we grew up in Andover. I mean, all 3 of us did. But Candace and I met back when we were in elementary school. And my sister and her sister met in the neighborhood cul-de-sac. And then we started getting together. And gosh, it was just like, we were just like sisters from the start. And so we just did all the goofy things together and would, do neighborhood. We'd make routines for our neighbors, routines. And we'd like do wagon sales and draw and, lemonade stands and caricatures and just all the silly things you do in the neighborhood. Anyway, so we had such a fun childhood. And then Candace and I were the furthest apart. So like because the 4 of us girls were like bam, 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 bam. Like
they were all like basically a year apart.
Right. So Candace and I were the furthest apart. So I was like a senior when she was a freshman. So Candace, it was fun because like she always felt like a little sister. Like she really felt like a little sister because it was more of a sisterly relationship in school than a friendly relationship. And then I feel like as we've gotten older, it's just become more and more like best friends. And I love that. But yeah, high school was great. Yeah. Actually, I take that back. I didn't love high school. I really didn't.
At least you're honest.
Like, glory days, high school, and I know Landon, you, Mr. QB, probably think that, but I didn't love high school. I actually probably enjoyed middle school better than high school, and I know that's weird. I just was very, I don't know. It's not that I was obviously insecure, but I just also feel like I was like on the cusp of so many group of friends, and not really in any one group of friends. And that was weird. Anyway, I thrived in college. That's where I came alive.
Just real quick in high school, I was telling Candace, I was like, I'm going to have to bring this up. But my sophomore year, your senior year, we had weights class together, and we actually got partnered up together because I think they went by like how much we could squat or something, and we were the closest. So. Okay,
I know this will sound bad. I really don't remember that.
That's fine. I just think it's hilarious because you were an upperclassman, I was a sophomore, and I thought it was cool.
That's so embarrassing. That is embarrassing, though. No, I always knew you and loved you in high school, but that's hilarious. I don't remember that, but I'm not surprised because I did have I had a lot of success in weights in high school.
Yeah,
You're like a
powerlifting,
state
right?
champ.
Yeah, state champ, right?
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. But yeah, I forgot about that stage of my life. Yes. Yeah, I was a state champion weightlifter. I won bench, squat, and clean, and overall.
That's
But
awesome.
no, it's really not, because that was in the 105 and under weight class, which
Ah.
you know how many girls are doing state champion or state
At least one.
weightlifting under 105. I was like a part of. I think I was competing against like 3 other people. So
Hey, state champ's a state champ. That's all that
I
matters.
know. I don't know my
So after that, you went to K-State and you were a cheerleader. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. What made you want to go to K-State?
Gosh, this is also a stupid answer. I just have a bunch of not stupid. I just have a bunch of silly answers.
No, it's great.
I went to college at K-State because most of my friends went there.
That's
So-
I mean,
Yeah.
hey, that's why
That's
most
a lot of
pick
people,
their
yeah.
schools.
I know, but that's not like a really noble answer. You know, I wish I could be like, I wanted to go because I wanted to be the black sheep and get out and spread my wings. That is not the circumstance. And then with cheer, I decided not to cheer my first year. I didn't have the best experience toward the end of high school with cheer. So then I was like, nah, I'm done with that. I'm not going to do it anymore. And then in college, that first year when I was going to tailgating and going to the games, and I just would stare at the cheerleaders and like, I just missed it so much. I just wanted to be a part of that. So I started kind of dabbling and going to some of their open gyms and things like that through the end of that year. And yeah, so I cheered after that, and it was just a ball. I loved it. It was so fun. Yeah, I mean, I just think the experience of cheering at the college level was so beyond what, I mean, high school is fun because of the tradition and the, you know, the homecoming and all that and all the like pomp and circumstance that's around it. But college, it's like, that's when I really learned what a first down was. You know, I didn't know what a first down was. That's the difference. In high school, you can cheer all 4 years and never know what a first down is. But then in college, you have to know that. You can't just coast along through a game, a D1 game, and not know what a first down is. So I think it was just really a cool experience. Loved it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're in a sorority, right?
Yeah, that was like my backseat gig.
Sure.
I loved my sorority, but I mean, I think that also when you're in a sport, you kind of have to pick which one to give more of your attention to. And so I picked my sport.
That was kind of your sorority, was the cheerleading.
Yeah, I think I was more invested in that group. But I loved my sorority and I loved my sorority sisters. And I think that when I stopped cheering through college, I also got closer with my sorority sisters, and that was fun too. But yeah, the year that I lived in the house, because I lived in the house just 1 year in the sorority house, and that was the year I also cheered. So I just really wasn't around the sorority much, and I couldn't make it to a lot of events. But yeah, that was just, I mean, there was so much going on, you know, between cheer and sorority. It was such a fun season. I loved it. So
yeah, that's crazy. That's packed full. I mean, most people only do one or the other. So that's
I mean, well,
meet a lot more people.
College is for, right? College is for like doing all the things, and you don't have anything holding you back or tying you down. I mean, in y'all's case, you had each other, but holding you back and tying you down. I'm just kidding. No, but you know, you don't have. I mean, you have school, and that's like depending on what I was in education, so that clearly wasn't very hard, and I just had a lot of time to do all the fun things, and it was really great.
Well, I think it's so cool too, looking back at like pictures of you in college and things, and like seeing like your professional like K-State. Like, I mean, you're getting stunted up in the air. I mean, it's just the coolest thing ever. Like
cool.
with fans surrounding behind you. I think that is so like I look at those and I'm like, that is so awesome because my college experience did not look like that. I went to and from class and then went back home.
I mean, I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, you are.
No, obviously. Okay, please, if you don't know me, I'm joking.
Yeah, she is.
That at all. But no, it was definitely fun. I'm the kind of person that I like to do. Like I want to get into everything, and I get on kicks, and I want to keep doing it, and I also am the kind of person that like I want to be the best at everything, and so if I start doing something that I like, I can't just stop doing it when I'm decent at it. I have to like keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. So I get myself in kind of overwhelming situations where I have so much on my plate, and that has rung true through my young adulthood and to where I'm at now. So it's not always a good thing. It's actually more probably a bad thing, but that's who I am.
So you and Matt met at K-State, correct?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna love that. So, gosh, Matt and I met the first week at K-State because I don't know. I mean, I guess some people might know if I name drop Danny Collins. He went to Andover Central with us, but Danny Collins was one of my best friends. And Danny and Ben Clark, and I got to name drop him too. Danny Collins and Ben Clark, they lived in Haymaker. What's that? Dorm, right? I'm like, I almost forgot the word dorm. That's nuts.
It's been a while.
Like, what's that called? I was going to say fraternity. I was like, no, that was a dormitory. Who says the word dormitory? No, anyway, I was always going over and hanging out with Danny and Ben. Always, as in a couple times that first week. And one of those times that I was over there, I met Matt. I actually met Matt while I was sitting on the lap of my then boyfriend. But yeah, Matt says that he remembers that time, and he says that he remembers looking at me and thinking like, oh, I wish I was that guy. The guy who I was sitting on his lap. Which I was like, I think you're just making that up. But I definitely...
I could see him saying that.
I could too.
I definitely remember that night, like meeting him, because I just thought he was really hot. And then, but we were just friends after that. We were friends for like a year because we were always dating other people. And I ended up dating one of his closest friends in the fraternity. And then while I was dating somebody else, he had expressed interest in me. So then it was weird because then I hooked him up with 3 of my best friends. So seriously, at different points in that year, he dated 3 of my best friends. Because I just want to keep him close. I just want to keep him around, just see what he's up to. Yeah, and then we went on a spring break trip together, like in a big group, sophomore year. And he like rode with me and my girlfriends just because I asked him to come with us so we'd have a guy, and he was really eager to do that. And
the whole time he had Kelsie on his mind.
So funny because,
he knew what he was doing.
Well, it's so funny because the ride there, he said, I knew that I wanted to be with you, and like you were the only girl in that whole car ride that 12-hour car ride that didn't drive me crazy. Like all the other girls, he's like, when you're a college guy and a carload of girls asks you to ride with them down to spring break, you're like, yeah, let's do this. Like, that sounds really exciting. He's like, no, that was the worst decision. It's terrible. Like, it was not a good time. But obviously that's when, he and I were like in the front and talking while everyone else was sleeping and complaining in the back. So it was great. Yeah, it was good. That's when our flame came alive, and we've been together since then. So yeah, 10 years this year. Or this past,
that is
this past
so
August,
cool.
That's really cool.
August, we met 10 years ago this past August, and then started dating, I guess, 9 years ago. So,
yeah, and you got married summer of 2016.
Yeah.
And then,
that was the same year as you, but different calendar year. You know what I mean?
Like within a year. Yeah.
Yep, fall 2015. Yeah, you guys got married.
Because we got both of us. Y'all two and Matt and I got engaged the same month. Remember?
Yeah, so we were just really ready to get married.
That's right. Yeah, we were like, oh, we need to make sure this is for real.
Whatever. Yeah, so you guys were living in Kansas, and then you moved to Texas. What brought you to Texas?
Yeah, so Matt is from Texas. He is born and raised in Tomball, which is like a suburb of Houston. And so I just thought it was cool that he was from Texas. Even in college, it was exciting because he was like the Texas boy. And I think that there's a lot of people in Kansas who kind of love Kansas as home, but kind of wish they were from somewhere cooler like that. So I think that when I had the opportunity to move to Texas, I jumped at it. I was like, yeah, like let's live in Texas. Like, that's cooler than Kansas. But I love Kansas. And Kansas is home. And so I think that when you're younger, you are more excited by opportunities to live in a new place. And then as you get older, you kind of realize like the value that living at home brings, because there's definitely times now where I'm like, where I definitely miss and wish that I was living back in Kansas. So I think it's funny because when I left Kansas, I was like, I don't want to come back to Kansas. I'm so excited to live in a new state and I don't need to come back and I don't get homesick. As I've gotten older and definitely having kids has made me just really appreciate the hometown that I had and the community I had, and has made me really envious of people who live close to their family, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously Matt is my family and Brooks is my family, and so we have a great life down here in Katy. We don't have any immediate family down here, which makes it exciting because you know we've got our friends who feel like family, and then we've got some family in Austin, which is a couple hours away. But yeah, so we came down here shortly after college just because we wanted to go somewhere and neither of us really had jobs yet. And so we were like, well, let's just pick where we want to search.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very cool. And then you went to work as a teacher, science teacher, right?
Yeah, I was, I started actually at Wichita Heights. So my first year while Matt was getting his master's at K-State, I was teaching at Wichita Heights High School. I taught biology. That was a unique experience. So unique, in fact, that when I moved to Texas, I was like, I am not teaching high school. I only looked for middle school jobs because I thought that I could not tackle that beast again. So then I taught middle school for 2 years down in around Houston, and then after that, I had an opportunity to be a head cheer coach at a brand new high school and like start the program, which was cool. So cool. And that was at a high school. So I was like, okay, I guess I can take on high school again. And I loved it. I mean, if I ever did go back to teaching, then I would definitely want to do high school again. Although I don't believe I will go back, but that was what I would want to do. So it's definitely where I was meant to be teaching. I loved it. Yeah.
Very cool. Good. Awesome. Yeah. Do you miss teaching now?
Yeah. I miss it. It's a weird answer because I do miss it. I loved it, but I feel like that time of my life and career I feel like it was over. Like I feel like the 5 years I had in that field were the most fruitful 5 years I'll ever have in that field. And obviously I don't know that for certain, but I feel like the ability to coach and put all of my time and energy into that and into those relationships with the kids and not the age makes a difference, but to be also young enough where I wasn't so far removed from a lot of what they were dealing with. And, primarily I'm thinking more with my cheerleaders, my cheer school and those relationships. I mean, I just don't imagine that just with classroom teaching and without coaching that I would be able to really pour myself in as much as I did those past 5 years. Sure. And so I think if I went back, it would just be a really different experience. And I don't know that it could compare to what I had. So I miss that. I don't think I will ever get that back. I think that was a unique experience in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
I
sense.
remember when talking about it, like you just had a really like sense of peace about being done. Like you're like that chapter is done and not like that it wouldn't ever be an option again in the future, but you had a good peace about it.
I do. And I really do. I felt like that was my calling. I don't feel like I majored in the wrong thing or chose the wrong path. Because I do feel like I was meant to do that for those 5 years. And, I made some great relationships and it really felt like a really big service 5 years, like I feel like I really did my service. And now, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't see myself returning to that. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So that kind of brings us up to the blog. So can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to start the blog initially and come up with the name and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I am the kind of person that I just get an idea of something and I just start doing it. So actually the year prior to starting my blog, and I started my blog in August of 2017, just to kind of give reference there. Yeah. So in 2016, over the summer, because over my summers of teaching, I did all these things, like so many random things. And one of the things I did in the summer of 2016 is I started writing a book. It's like, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to be a best-selling author and I'm going to sell everywhere. And coming from somebody who hasn't finished more than 5, I can count on my fingers the number of books I have read to completion. So I should not be in the book writing business. But I threw myself into writing that book for that summer. And then obviously I picked up teaching and forgot about the book, and that never ensued at all. But then the following summer, I was kind of talking to a friend. I was like, I have all these ideas that spin around in my brain, and I have I have all these ideas, and I have all these like DIY things, and I do all these things, and I feel like I just want to tell people about them and share my ideas. And I just feel like I have a lot of things to say. And everybody has a lot of things to say, but I like to say them. The difference is that I like to say the things that,
Right.
that I'm doing, and I like to share those things. So I started recording, like writing down all the things I was doing. So like that summer, I randomly one day woke up and I was making coffee, and I hated the way that my cabinet doors looked. Just period. I hated the way they looked. So I, like, while my coffee's brewing and I'm in my PJs and it's 9:00 in the morning, and I went and got a screwdriver and a drill, and I took off all the cabinet doors in my kitchen. And I was like, okay, so now I have open shelving, but obviously it looked terrible, because they were, it's build a great house, and those were not meant to be shown on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I like went to Home Depot that morning. I went to Home Depot and I thought, I'm not even kidding, I didn't consult Matt about this. He was at work. He came home like, what did you do? I went to Home Depot and I got like all this chalk paint and wood stain. I had no clue what I was doing. And I came home and I tried to stain the light wood. You know how laminate wood, like it's like glossy, and you cannot stain that. And I didn't know that. In 2017, I didn't know that. So I'm trying to stain this laminate wood and having no luck. I'm getting wood stain all over because I just needed the inside of the cabinets to be dark because it looked so bad.
Yeah.
So then that didn't work. So I was like, I got to go back to Home Depot, and I went back and got some chalk paint. And anyway, I'm getting too far in this. Point is, I did all of that, and I redid. I did my open shelves, and at the end, it looked really cool. And so then I was like, I'm going to write down the steps I took, because if somebody else wanted to do that, then here's the beginner's, like somebody who just wants it to be done in a day, doesn't need it to be real fancy, but wants it to be done and look good. Here's how you do it. And then when I was writing that down, I realized I love writing. Like I love to. I didn't know I loved writing. I knew that when I was trying to write my book the year before, but I loved writing those quick little snippets. It's not a commitment of a full book. So I did that with every project that summer, and I did several projects. And then at the end of the summer, we had Hurricane Harvey. I don't know if y'all heard about that up in Kansas, but down in these parts, that was a big deal. So we were stuck inside for several weeks. And during that time, I was like, I'm just going to compile all of those things into a blog, and I'm going to make this blog. And actually, my intention was for it to be a teacher blog. So that was the point of my blog at the beginning. But yeah, that's how I got started. I wrote down my ideas, and then it just took me being bored at home for a couple weeks to be like, well, I guess I should put this online and make it a thing.
That's really cool. And how did you come up with the name?
The name it's not anymore, but it was inspiration from a messy desk. And that's literally, that was just literally
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, because my desk, and I wanted it to be primarily a teacher blog, because I had, at that time in August when I made the blog, that was the start of the school year, which is when my teacher motivation is the highest, right? And so, I was hosting some workshops and stuff at school, and I'm like, I have so many cool lesson ideas that I want to tell other teachers about, and I want to be able to also like learn from other teachers. And so I'm going to get invested in this teacher blogging world. So I decided to name my blog based on kind of a teaching style. And so the inspiration from a messy desk was supposed to be like, it's okay to be, you can be a mess and still be inspiring and still have great ideas. And, that rung true for a lot of my students. I could picture like, you're my inspiration from a messy desk, little John Smith or whatever. And then I liked how that could also apply to the variety of what I would hope my blog would be,
Sure. Oh yeah.
I didn't always intend for it to be exclusively a teacher blog. I intended for it to kind of take some, tributaries down some different some different paths. And so I thought that a desk could be symbolic of life, inspiration from a messy life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was the initial name. That was the initial rationale behind that.
And how long did you have that name before you decided to change it?
Yeah, I had that for that. Okay, I guess it was about a year and a half.
Okay.
I had it for about a year and a half, and that's when it was mainly just a teacher blog.
Mm-hmm.
And then things got weird when I had Brooks and I wasn't a teacher, and I felt like I was trying to force my content into the name of Messy Desk, which I always could explain it. I could always, if you really knew my blog, you'd be like, oh, it makes sense because your desk is symbolic. But the problem is, I had people who were confused who didn't know me that well.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, what are you? Are you a teacher? And why does and I think it was more a business decision to change it into something more general.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, my goal with my blog was first and foremost to inspire and equip others, and to make others feel happy and joyful when they came to my blog. And then I guess the second reason that I wanted it to kind of be a business potential, something that would allow me to comfortably stay home. Matt and I wanted me to stay home while the kids were young. And so we were able to make that happen. And this blog just kind of became something that made it, it's still very much in development, but it was exciting that there was potential to actually turn it into something that could help benefit my family.
Yeah, sure.
So I was excited about that and the potential. And I think it just gives me another, I'm kind of a goal-oriented person. So I think having different goals from that business aspect was kind of fun and exciting because that's definitely not something that I'd ever experienced as a teacher. So.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of feel the same way about this. Like, we're not making a ton of money off of this or anything like that, but like, there's that light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, how cool would it be if we could do this full time at some point or something like that? Like,
right?
Will it ever happen? I don't know, but like you said, like goal oriented. Like, I've got these goals in my mind, and it's fun just to continue to work towards those, and like something to think about. I mean, it's kind of cool.
Right.
Well, and I think it's cool too, like getting to see your story of it transitioning from you were a teacher and like having that inspiration be in the name, obviously, because it was literally in the name. And like, but your goal even then was, yeah, you were a teacher and you wanted to inspire teachers, but the main point was to inspire people. And I mean, I feel like you do that daily. And so it's cool getting to see that merge into now Kelsie Brown blog and, getting to you still use your original goal and heart behind it is inspiring people. And now you're inspiring whether that's new moms or moms with kids or just, I mean, not even moms, people who just love to cook and everything that you do on that. And so I think it's just cool to see it merge and like kind of, I guess, form into now getting to do that as a mom and be home and what that looks like for you. So that's been fun.
I think that, when talking about y'all's podcast and what we're talking about here, I think that if your first goal is that genuine, heartful reason of you want to, benefit people in some way and bring something that makes people happy into people's lives, and your secondary goal can be whatever. It can be, the potential of business and the potential of, growth and providing for your family. Like, that's a secondary goal. But if your primary goal is right, then I think you're going to have a lot better success at achieving your secondary goal. I think if your primary goal is, I want to make a business out of this. I want to make money. I want this to be my job, or I want this to help me. I want this to be the way I stay home. You know what I mean?
Right.
That, I feel like, people can see through that, when you're trying to do 100%. Something to the public. I think that people can see through that. And so you have to have a genuine heart about it if you really want it to get it to where you want to. And if you don't, I mean, you can still grow, but I think that growth shouldn't be the reason you want to do it,
Well, and I think, I mean, both of us, us and then your blog have both been going for 2+ years now. And if you were just about money, if it was just about money, we would not be doing this right now.
Oh yeah, the amount of work you do behind the scenes it's so much. Yeah, I think that people don't really realize either until you get into it. I think And I think it's also, when you're really small, when you're a micro blogger, which is what I would consider myself, it takes, you don't have the freedom to outsource things, or delegate
Right.
tasks.
Exactly.
And you see, I think you can get into this game where you're comparing yourself to more larger scale bloggers or people who are doing what you're doing, but more and better, it seems like, and I'm like, man, their photos are just so professional, and they're putting out blog posts every day, and where they have that time, and they have a family too. And I have to remind myself, like, the people who are doing that, like, they're probably able to outsource some of that.
Right. Oh,
and
yeah.
I have to give myself grace because, at the state I'm at, it's all me. I'm the marketing. I'm the content producer. I'm the secretary. And all of that. It's a lot of work. I'm the Matt's the photographer. Matt is my photographer. Matt
Instagram husband.
Or my kind of makeshift tripod is my photographer. But I think that there's just a lot that you don't realize until you really get into it. I'm sure that you feel the same way.
Absolutely. And so what all avenues do you have the blog? I mean, obviously you have like the website blog, which is crazy how much content you have on there. It's awesome. And then you do like Instagram and Instagram stories and stuff. Do you put more effort into one thing or another? Like, how do you plan that out? How often do you do it?
Yeah, I do. And I think that I have kind of a general plan. I think at first my plan was to just beef up my blog with lots of good content, because I felt like I couldn't really start advertising my blog until it was worth advertising. So that's really what I did at first. And, I really kind of reset myself last year when I changed my blog and turned it into more of a lifestyle as opposed to teaching. I kind of, rewinded myself because I had to kind of, my audience is obviously, and my content is different. And so I had to rework everything. But my plan really was beef up the blog first, get some good content in there, focus on coming up with my ideas, especially when I could, before I had a family, kid. I had more time on my hands. I did, as much as I could. And then after that, in the last year, the time I've had to put towards new ideas and new content hasn't been as much. I still make an effort to get out a couple blog posts a month. And usually I'm able to hit that, but I've mainly focused my efforts on marketing myself in my blog. And so the primary avenue that I've been using for that is Instagram. And honestly, just because that's what I'm most familiar with. And so I would like to get into Pinterest more. I am on Pinterest and I'm trying to get into it more, but that's something that's going to take a weekend of baby free, just with my computer to figure that out. But yeah, Instagram's my primary marketing tool right now. And so that is my, I think I get the most engagement from that audience. And so I use that, and I make a lot of content exclusive to my Instagram page. So a lot of on videos and a lot of, I share a lot of recipes on my actual Instagram page. So I've got about 120 something recipes saved on my Instagram page.
Wow.
In my highlights. But then on my blog, I've only got like 10, so I think it's because I put a lot of effort into one blog post. But as far as Instagram, it's easy because you can just, it doesn't have to be perfect.
And it's easier because people are already on Instagram a lot more, so it's easier to get traffic. And
yeah, I think that you have to. I mean, if somebody's listening, thinking like I want to do that and I don't know how to start it, I would say try not to dip your feet into everything. And not that I've had crazy success with this, but this is just, I think, what has brought me the most, like, allowed me to enjoy it while still maintaining it. And I like and know Instagram the best. So I'm allowing myself to put all of my attention towards Instagram and my blog, but not so much spread myself so thin with Twitter and Pinterest and Facebook. And I think I have goals about when I want to really push those things, but because I think the best blogs really do capitalize on all those tools. But I know my capacity and what I can give to this right now, and I can't give enough to each of those, so I have to pick one. And so yeah.
Speaking of that, I know you don't want to spread yourself too thin or something, but if you ever did start a podcast or something, I think you would be really good at that. Even if it's like 5 or 10 minute thoughts that you're just like, okay, Brooks is down for a nap and I've got a thought about what happened that morning, or tell a story, record it on your phone and you could post it. But
you know what, Landon? You can find that material. It's called my Instagram stories.
It is.
Because that's
fair enough.
become my
Turn those into a podcast.
No, I don't know how you do this, because I think it's awesome. I mean, you can probably figure this out just from this conversation. I just can trail off on a thought for too long if I'm allowed. And Instagram has this great feature where they cut you off at a certain point. And so then you're like, wow, that's embarrassing. I talked about that for too long. So that's my,
okay,
it's like,
fair enough.
You're done. And so, podcast, you don't have that. When you told me like, oh, we can go 30, 45 minutes. It's like, okay, we'll try to make it 30. My gosh, this could be an hour and a half. So this is why I need a blog. I need an outlet for all these things that I want to say. And also, this is the result of being a stay-at-home mom and having no actual talking person to respond to you.
Well, and just living like away. Like I feel like, I mean, even just being a mom, like stay-at-home mom, but even like I feel like that was how I was when we lived in Corpus, because we didn't really know that many people down there, especially in the beginning, until we made some friends down there. But and like, through church and stuff. But like Lane would come home from work and I would just like word vomit to him, or like I would go to the grocery store and like the lady checking out my groceries, like I'm just like, how are you today? Like, how's it going? And this poor lady's just like enduring this really long conversation, because I'm like, this is the first time I've talked to anyone today.
No, but you should stop that. I mean, some people get annoyed. Oh, I swear, I know Matt probably parks his car outside our sack for 20 minutes before coming in the house, because like, I know I'm just a bomb when he comes home, but I like to talk to people, and don't have a lot of people to talk to right now, so yeah. No, I mean, I love this season, and you're about to be in it too. It is such a great season of new motherhood and having a baby and being. I'm so thankful to be at home with him, and as isolating as it might be at times, it is definitely. I feel like it's where I'm supposed to be, and I feel like it's such a fruitful experience, and it's good. It's good for us to like, it's really pushed me also to get out of my shell in my blog. I didn't talk to my Instagram before being a mom. And then once I became a mom, literally 2 weeks after that, when Matt went back to work, I made my first like facing the screen Instagram story. And I legit haven't stopped since. I mean, I've done it like every single day since. And it's like, hey, here I got things to talk about today. So here we go. So, I mean, it's a little ridiculous, but.
One of the things which I haven't checked it out that much, but I know it's kind of growing and you put some effort into it, is the virtual coffee.
Every Monday. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Oh, that's my favorite part of my blog. So last March, I came up with this idea because I felt like I had these kind of like insightful things I wanted to talk about. Not that I'm such a wise, insightful person, but I just felt like I was mainly doing, on Instagram where some people have posts and their caption is really long and really like serious, and like, that's a lot of work to read, and I don't want to read that, Oh, yeah. And I felt like that was the majority of my posts, were those long, insightful captions, and I loved making those posts, but I knew that they were just, too much. And so I thought, what if I turned those into just once a week, something positive, something happy, some kind of perspective type of message. And I would send it out. I chose Monday morning because I was like, that's the time of the week when people are kind of on the lowest low, it's like, oh, it's Monday morning. And I figured, what better place to communicate it than through the place that brings them down the most, because it's like,
absolutely.
People are getting on Instagram to try to be, enjoy, but like when they open their email, they're ready to blah, and so what if I could bring a little bit of brightness,
oh, yeah.
like, bring a little bit of joy to their inbox on a Monday morning, and it would be something completely unrelated to whatever they had to do that day, work.
Yeah.
And it could be, I wanted the majority of the time to be like some insightful, positive, happy message that would make you smile, maybe a story, maybe, just a thought, or challenge. And then every couple of weeks I would sprinkle in something fun, like a new recipe that was just exclusively for those people who were getting my virtual coffees. I decided to call it virtual coffee because it was like, Monday morning, you need some coffee. This is virtual. And so I just
So
kind of
cute.
came to me. Just randomly, I was just like, that's a cute idea. And so I started it in March, the first week of March last year. And I was like, I'm just going to do this as long as I like doing it. And I decided I was only going to allow myself to write it on Sunday night.
Okay. I was going to ask about that.
I wanted it to be real genuine with like what was on my heart that day,
Mm-hmm.
and like what I was going through that day, because I thought, that's what, when people are reading things and dealing with things, it's the day-to-day stuff. If I was going to sit down and be in a frame of mind and come up with a bunch of topics at once, then those would be reaching. I wanted to kind of walk people through, okay, here's what I'm feeling and what is on my heart in August, on a Sunday night. And probably other people will be dealing with those same things or having those same thoughts and feelings. And that way it's just really genuine. And so I was like, I'm only going to do this as long as I'm happy with doing it on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I've not stopped it. I've done it every week. Every Sunday night I sit down and write them. And it takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to write it.
Yeah.
And I've stayed up sometimes till 3 a.m. doing it. If it's like, there's been Sundays where we are flying and we get in at 9. I'm like, I gotta write my virtual coffee and I have a headache,
Yeah.
But then I sit down and I Matt goes to bed and I sit down, it's quiet and I'm in the living room and I always get myself some tea or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. I love doing it. I love thinking, okay, what's on my heart right now? Like, what do I want to talk about? And so, I love it. And I feel I have seen it grow and it's exciting. And, I get people who send me messages like, this is just what I need to hear this morning. And that's kind of the fuel that makes me want.
That's what it's all about.
So
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I love that. Yeah.
I love the idea behind that. It's really cool.
Thank you. That's my favorite thing about my blog. So
I like getting them.
Oh, thanks, Candace. Yeah.
And there's something fulfilling about like being consistent about that. Not that I've ever been that way with any of this stuff, but like when you don't want to do it, pushing through and doing it, and then you feel much better after you put it out or whatever it is. So
and that's the thing. There have been a couple weeks where it's been really rough. Obviously I'm pregnant, so I've been pregnant since almost as long as you've been pregnant. So it's there's been nights where we've been traveling all day and I feel sick, and it's like the last thing I wanted to do was have to try to write something. And Matt will tell me like, Kelsie, it's okay if you just take a break. You can tell people that you're going to take a break or put it out one day late or something. And I'm like, you know what? I could, and everyone would understand that. And that would be really fine. It would be fine. Everyone would get that. And nobody would be like, oh, I can't believe she didn't do it. But it's almost like for me, I almost have to push myself. It's like I'm challenging myself. Like, I'm capable of doing this. And I don't want to see it as something necessarily for me. It's like when I think about the one person who might be looking forward to getting it tomorrow morning and who might miss out on whatever good feeling I would bring them by me deciding to succumb to not feeling good. I've chosen to provide this, and I like to think of it as a service and something that I can do, like something I can do in my part to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think of it like that, it is the biggest motivator for why can't I spend an hour and get myself tea, make me feel a little better, and make this happen? Because I know I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think it speaks volume. It would make so much sense, and people would totally get it if one morning I decided not to. But I think it also speaks volumes when you are consistent and when people can trust you.
Yeah. And I think that mindset just goes to show why you've been able to grow it to what you have. Because like you said, people would just understand that, but the fact that you don't want to let anybody down, even if there's nobody to let down, there might be that one person. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's like, I know who knows if there's people that's like, oh, I really want to read this. And I like to think that when I'm writing it, that's what keeps me going. But, the thought that there is maybe one person that's like really looking forward to that, and the thought of what their face would look like if they opened up their inbox and it wasn't there, So yeah, I think that's what keeps me going. But yeah, I think you're right. I think you have to have a genuine heart about your endeavors, or they aren't going to be as successful as they could be.
Sure. So you started in 2017. Did you ever think, or did somebody ever think to tell you or anything like, oh no, it's too late to start a blog? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
No,
because
people say that now.
sure,
I
yeah,
think, in 2017, I never, in 2017, I had no intention of it turning into any kind of business potential. It
right,
was really just like a place to put all my thoughts, my vomit like thoughts in somewhere that I could refer back and show other people, And I think as I've kind of gotten into it more, and I can see the potential of like it actually being something fruitful for my family, and that excites me. It's, in a secondary way that excites me. But I feel like that getting more into that, and kind of investing more in like a blogging network, and with networking with other people. And I do hear a lot. People are like, the time to start has passed. I mean, if you wanted to be a big blogger, you had to start in 2014, 2013, 2014.
right,
And, it's tough because, we don't know where the next 5 years, but like when you look at people who did start that early and you look at their 5-year growth and you're like, wow, that's really amazing. I haven't had 5 years in this. I don't know if it's possible for me to achieve what a lot of those seasoned bloggers have, in 5 years or another 10 or whatever.
right.
But I can't expect that, and I think that that's big, is I think when people expect like, oh, I saw, other people grow that fast, that quickly, and so I can do that too. I think that the potential of being able to do that is motivating, but I think that I don't want to do it because I want it to grow to be that big. And so when I hear people say like, the time to be a big blogger has passed, like the time to turn your blog into a business, it's kind of going on the downslope because people are getting irritated by all that. And I think that that doesn't bother you if that's not your main goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think too, like a lot of those, like bigger bloggers, just like a few people in my mind, like even when they talk back to like in their past, like when they were starting, like one girl in particular, like she started like literally because her husband was in the medical field and they were, they lived away, and it was like a way for her family to keep updated on like what they were doing and like what they had going on. And so she just started posting about like their life and things, and it was just for her family, and then it grew. And so I feel like you're like, when it's like you're starting for like those reasons, or like for you, like your reason of like, it was just a place for me to like word vomit or like put my thoughts and all these great things I wanted to share. Like those are all reasons of like, really, like you didn't have a plan for it to grow and be big,
Yeah.
And it's not like you just said, like, it's not like you were starting with this intention of like, I'm going to make all this money. Like I'm going to really just like go with this and be this like famous blogger. Like you just genuinely started like, I want a place to like just voice my thoughts. And and then now like where it's growing to that, I mean, like I see the potential in that just exploding. Like it's incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is exciting. I mean, like Landon, like you said earlier, like, that light at the end of the tunnel. It's exciting, the potential that this new, like, business can be, because 10 years ago, this wasn't even possible.
Right.
Pat and I were actually just talking about this. You look at some people who are literally supporting their families and paying for their children's futures with their social media account.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can employ yourself just, without even a degree. And I think that it's so cool that it's like that this free app has opened and I'm talking about Instagram specifically.
Right. Yeah.
But like people don't even have blogs and are supporting their families with their Instagram. And
it's pretty crazy.
It's really cool. And obviously that's a little scary too, but what if Instagram disappeared tomorrow? I love and hate Instagram.
Right.
Like we can all agree with that. But I just think it is really special that people are able to use their talents and use this free app as a vehicle to find success,
Oh yeah.
It's cool. So yeah, potential is exciting, but in general, when blogging, I think it can't be about the potential of that.
Sure.
You know?
As far as like the business aspect, are you like reaching out to people to try to like work deals or trades or promotions or anything like that? Or are people reaching out to you or?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. I think the first, if somebody's listening who's trying to get started with this, the first, I don't want to go by numbers, but I'm going to. Okay,
Sure. Whatever you want to do.
Numbers don't matter, but numbers best explain kind of because the truth is brands that you work with, they look at numbers, and so you kind of have to gauge I hate to say worth, but as far as like your monetary worth for an ad does depend on numbers, and that is unfortunate, but that's just the truth because it's also a business. So the first year that I blogged, it was I grew from zero. I started a new Instagram account. Which I would recommend anyone who already has an Instagram who's trying to start from scratch, use your personal account, because those people care about you. And if they don't want to follow your blog, that's fine. But if they care about you and they want to like see your endeavor and kind of try to help you, then they would be happy to. And that's just, I wish I had used my personal account, because there's 300, I had a modest number of 300 followers on a personal account, and I know that those 300 people cared about me.
Right.
I know that probably more than half of them don't have any clue that I even started this blog,
Right.
But anyway, I started my blog from scratch, or my Instagram and all my social accounts from zero. And it took me about a year to grow to 2,000 just organically. And during that time, it wasn't really until I got over 1,000 that I started having any kind of brand say anything. But at that time, and I didn't even think about working with brands because that's not where my head was at. But brands like I was doing a lot of recipes back then, mainly like teacher stuff and recipes. And so I'd have some like protein bar companies reach out and be like, hey, can we send you some free protein bars if you tag us in your stories? And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. I thought that was so cool. So like,
that is really cool.
Like, look at these protein bars we got for free. And so I did random stuff that first year, and it was all just people that reached out wanting to give me free products. And then I think after about a year, and I kind of realized like, I think that I can't keep doing all this. I only want to share genuine things, genuine recommendations, things I actually like. And I think that I put a lot of effort into my shout outs. Like I put a lot of effort into my content, into the pictures I take. And I know that like, maybe they don't think that my numbers are worth it to them, and that's fine. But I feel like the labor I put in is worth monetary compensation. Yeah. So I think that this past year is when I started, actually, like I made an invoice, and I make my own invoices, and I invoice companies.
That's great.
That's really cool.
And I ask for usually, and now at this point, I think I noticed a big shift when I crossed over the 10K. I think a lot of companies have like a threshold that they're willing to pay for.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so now most of the companies that I talk to are ones that reach out, just because I'm not hunting for a lot of business right now. I think I would, if I wanted to start hunting more, I could maybe make it a bigger part of my account, is like some of that brand collaboration stuff. But I think being pregnant and having Brooks, I just don't have a ton of time.
Yeah.
But most of it is brands reaching out, and they will ask for my rate in my media kit. And so I'll send them my media kit, which outlines what I do and what my typical rates are. And then they'll usually come back with like, either they'll negotiate or they'll send me a contract.
Yeah.
And I'll just invoice them after. But yeah, it took a couple of years to get to that, where I kind of was like, I know I put a lot of work into this content, and I know that even though other companies might not think that it's worth their penny to use me, I don't want to work with companies who don't value my effort, you know? So I just kind of started holding that standard for myself.
Yeah. That's really cool. I think that's important though, because you know how much work you're putting into it, and you know your audience. People are messaging you, and you're collaborating and talking with all the different people in your audience, so you kind of know what they like and how much work you put in. So I think it's important to kind of like, well, this is what I value myself at, as far as the social media versus monetary and that kind of thing.
Right. And I think also that the thing that differentiates the genuine from the ingenuine bloggers. I think that you see a lot of people who are just like a walking ad,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that could be a turnoff to just anyone who's just using Instagram for pleasure. And I think that it's, it just speaks a lot if the only brands that you're collaborating with are brands that you truly would use your own money with. And so I've tried to keep that as being like, that's kind of my line in the sand. I will only work with a company who I would spend my own money on at full price for this product, even beyond this collaboration. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so then I can so honestly speak to whatever I'm sharing. And I mean, as far as a brand's concerned, that's more, how genuine your ads are. That's better sales.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So,
very cool.
That's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. I'm still figuring that part out. But it did feel cool the first time I had to make an invoice. So I was like,
that is pretty cool. It's a big step.
It is.
Tax information. Like, I need to figure out. I don't know how taxes are going to go this year. I don't know how to do taxes with my own, because I had to make myself like a business kind of.
Right.
Literally, I'm going to have to, I'm coming up on that in a couple months. I didn't have to do that last year. So this year, it'll be the first year I have to I'd be taxed on what I made with my blog, which is weird.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, but it's interesting because
it's
I mean, it's all the stuff I didn't learn in college, and I didn't study any of this, so it's fun. It's really fun to try to learn this new business and see it in this entrepreneurial side of me come out, because I've never had that.
Yeah, it is really cool.
You can call my mom. She's really helpful with tax stuff.
Yeah, I need to call your parents.
You call Elizabeth.
Entrepreneurs over there.
Yeah, when I was doing wedding coordinating, I was the same way. I had to it was technically a contractor job is what.
Yeah, that was. I mean, you are absolutely working for yourself when you're contracting out your skills. So yeah, it's cool.
All right, so we're gonna mix it up a little bit. So I just have some kind of generic questions and then a couple questions about Wichita. So. Just kind of starting at the top, is there anything, or what would you often recommend to people? It could be music, podcast, books, life lessons you've learned, anything.
Okay, a few things. Okay, the first thing I would recommend, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan is my favorite show right now. And then, I don't know if there's any controversial. You don't have to put that in there. Okay, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. That's a good one.
I've heard it's really good. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard it's really good.
It's so good. I don't know. I don't like serious things. I don't like serious shows, serious movies, serious whatever. But I love war-related things.
Sure.
So, I can only watch chick flicks or war movies. Nothing in between. Yeah. Okay, other things. There's 2 more things I want to recommend. For any woman out there who finds themselves betrothed, that's what marriage is, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. The Power of the Praying Wife. Power of the Praying Wife. I love that book. I just think it is a great way to something that kind of keeps me level and keeps me from, taking for granted the support and love of my husband. And so I try to read one of those a couple times a week, and it just helped me stay really intentional with our marriage. And the great thing about that is it's not something that you have to force your husband to do too. It's literally just something that you do yourself. That's The Power of the Praying Wife. And then the third thing I would recommend is podcasts. I would recommend your podcast.
Appreciate it.
This is probably the silliest episode of all your podcast episodes, but I had a blast being on here. And but also I would recommend Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. I like that one. I know everybody likes that one, but I don't drive a lot, so I don't have a lot of time to listen to podcasts. But when I do, it's either yours or Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey.
Thank you. That's a high endorsement.
Those are the only 2.
Awesome.
Yeah, those are my recs.
Cool. Yeah, we'll link all those up to make sure people have links to all that stuff and they can get it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so this one's kind of putting you on the spot too, so take your time. But what is your definition of success?
Your definition of success. My definition of success is, okay, I would say you have succeeded when you feel at peace that you are using what God gave you to benefit somebody else. So you are using what God gave you to serve in a way that brings you joy. Not necessarily always makes you happy, because happiness and joy are very different. And I think that happiness is a feeling that's dependent on a circumstance. It's, happiness is a feeling that's dependent on something, something that happens to you. But is joy is something that you can make for yourself. You can find joy in a negative circumstance. And you can't always find happiness in that, but I think that the more that you find joy, you can um, you can garner more happy feelings, more positive emotions that can make you happier. So I think that if you can find peace in using your God-given talents to serve the people around you, then you've succeeded.
Wow, that was one of the best answers I've heard.
I knew Kelsie would have a good answer to that one.
That was really good.
Well, thanks, guys. And
but
some people
ask someone that question and put them on the spot. Like they'll be like, like me. I'm like, oh, give me like an hour. Kelsey's like, oh, I got this up my sleeve.
Okay, whatever.
Because she writes virtual coffees. They're really great. You guys should subscribe to them.
I could have probably said it better if you had sent me that question beforehand.
Maybe next time.
I just had to come up with it on the fly. Yeah, but I think it's about service. I think success is about service.
Sure.
Anyway.
We'll interview you for your 5-year anniversary of the blog and see where you're at. I'll send you the questions that time.
If I could. Oh, I wonder what. You look at your life and you're like, 5 years from now, it'd be. I mean, wouldn't you just love to see what your life looks like in 5 years?
Yeah.
So interesting. You think about 5 years ago, and I was probably laying on a couch hungover, and I'm like, now life is so different. I don't remember the last time I was hungover. But also, I don't remember the last time I was not pregnant or nursing. So I guess that's a good thing.
Do you have a life motto that you live by, or what's some of the best advice that you've personally received?
I'm just gonna give this is my little tagline on my blog. That I just think that joy is contagious, and if you are fortunate enough to find it effortlessly in things, then you should spread it and you should share it. But then also the best advice I've received, the best advice I've received is definitely from my mom. I've received so much good advice from my mom, and if I could just write a book of all the things that she says. My mom
bottle them up. She's so wise.
My mom's the first one that got me thinking about joy versus happy, and my mom has taught me to be mindful and to live life in the moment and very much present in your feelings. And when you are, whatever you're doing in that moment, driving, we go from point A to point B and you don't know how you got there and you're like, I was on autopilot. But that drive, while you were on autopilot, you could have missed seeing a little boy help a old lady get a cart from the grocery store that you passed, or you could have missed the sunset is so basic, but it's true. You could have missed out on that beauty, or if you're walking too fast, you could have missed a flower growing out of a crack in between the sidewalk steps. So I think that being mindful of the things that you're smelling and the things that you're feeling, and that little twitch in your hand, and that breath you're inhaling right now, and the way that breeze feels on your face, and the things that you hear, all of those things, being mindful in the moment. I think that it's easier to find joy in all your moments when you're really grounded in what's presently happening to you. I think it also brings more of a peace and a stillness, and I think that stillness kind of yields peace.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Do you have a habit that you've developed over the past couple of years that's most improved your life? Whether it's just day-to-day life, motherhood, the blog, anything?
Habit. Do I have a habit? A habit. Okay. I try to take a walk. Okay, and I can't do this every day, but whenever I take walks, my habit is, or something I really try to make sure I do. We have 2 habits. First habit, when I take walks, I put my phone away during the walk. Because I think that's okay. In some of your prayer, like, well, duh. But when you're a mom and you need to get out of the house and your baby's being crazy, like getting on that stroller and having that stroller in front of you and your baby can't see you, it's very tempting to just like check your phone and text someone back and call someone. It's very tempting to use that time to be on your phone because you feel guilty using it in front of your kid all the time. But I don't let myself, because I'm like, I want to take in this walk and I want to breathe the air and look ahead and watch my baby smile at the trees and be very present during this walk. And so I'm not going to worry about playing music, and I don't play music when I go on walks. Like I just let myself hear the walk, you know? I think that has made me, I always feel so good after walks. I don't know. I just didn't really appreciate those before I had Brooks. And then my second habit would be, the first thing in the morning. I try to do something, and you know, I wish I could say I read my Bible first thing every morning. I have gone through seasons where that is the first thing I do every morning, and I've gone through seasons where I'm in a slump of not doing that first thing every morning. And I'm always happier when I do. But since I'm not currently, I don't always stick with that, and so I don't want to say I do. But at least taking like those first moments in the morning and not checking my phone first and just like saying a prayer and like leveling my brain, and even better if I can go and like splash some water in my face and get a cup of coffee before I check my phone or anything, makes me feel so much better. So I think that just using those moments, like don't fall asleep looking at your phone and wake up looking at your phone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think like a habit that just from watching like your Instagram and like watching like pictures of the last year, like with Brooks, like just like your time being like certain parts of your time, like when he's napping, being more valuable, of like a habit you've kind of instilled in other people. Like, cause I've seen like you repost their stories saying they're doing it. But like setting your timer like on your, so
Yeah.
Kelsie does this thing where she sets her timer on her stove, what, for 10 or 15 minutes?
I do 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes, and like see how much stuff you can get done in 15 minutes, like whether that's just like cleaning up or, and I feel like that, I mean, I love doing that, but even just like that's one that pops in my head too. Like obviously you could probably have a lot of habits that have improved your life too, but that one I feel like is cool because you've seen the outcome of that, like just of like even like Caitlin Shea or whoever, like other people have reposted that they've done that, and it's like been helpful for them. So
whether you're a mom or not, and
cool.
I think that as a mom it really does, because like those babies destroy your house in a matter of seconds, and then you put them down for a nap and you're like, wow, my house was clean when I woke up and now it looks like a tornado, and you can't do anything to like decompress your brain for a minute until the house is somewhat restored. And so yeah, first thing I put them down, I go straight to the oven, I set my timer for 15 minutes, turn on some music, and I'm like, I'm gonna get to work, and I'm just gonna clean up the kitchen and pick up all his toys, and just like, and usually I'm done before the end of it. If you keep up with it, it doesn't take 15 minutes, you know? But yeah, that's a good habit. And anyone who's listening, you should try that. Like,
yeah, it is. I mean, you don't realize how much you can get done in that amount of time. I'm like, wow, what was I like worried about?
Or
like complaining about?
Like if you're working, if you're not a parent or whatever, and you get home from work, I wish I'd done this as a teacher. Instead of going straight to your closet and changing into your comfy clothes and just like sitting on the couch and unwinding for a while, because then you'll stay there. You know, like you're not gonna get up to that couch for a while, especially when you like your phone. If you get home and you don't even look at your phone yet, and you go straight to your oven timer and actually set the timer, because if you just say you're going to do it for 15 minutes, then something can distract you. But if that timer is ticking, it makes you do it. I mean, gosh, that's going to set your evening up so much better. And then you can go put yoga pants on and pull out your phone. But like 15 minutes, go get your stuff done and set yourself up for a happy evening, you know?
Definitely.
So cool.
So just a couple more real quick, specifically about Wichita. So what is your favorite part of Wichita? Or are there any like hidden gems that you like about Wichita?
Gosh, okay. It's been a couple of years since I've been to Wichita.
I know.
What's that donut place called?
Donut Hole?
Is that what it is? The donut hole?
Yeah.
The donut hole. Yeah. In high school, we used to go to the donut hole all the time. Loved that place. It's been a while since I've not been to Wichita, but since I've really been into Wichita.
That's true.
I don't know if Doc Howard's is still around. I love Doc.
It is not around anymore. It's been closed for a while.
That's how long it's been since I've really enjoyed what Wichita has to offer. It's like I was loving Doc Howard's last time. What else? Yeah,
yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Is there anything, I mean, it's been a while, but if you could improve something about Wichita, what would that be? Or what do you think Wichita still needs to kind of get over the hump?
What does Wichita need? I think Wichita needs more breweries. Like, I know there's like some breweries. Maybe a couple.
Maybe Wichita Brewing Company, River
There's
City
been a handful,
Brewing. We actually have
Norton's.
had a couple. That's something
There
true.
might be
That's
some that you
something
just
that's
haven't.
been, yeah,
It's
that's
been
something
the last couple
popped up a
years.
lot
That's
more.
honestly been quite a few.
Yeah.
Have they? Okay, that's cool. Because yeah, I mean, I can really only think of like River City Brewery.
That's true. When you were living here, Kelsie, like there really wasn't a
No.
lot. Like a lot of these are newer within the last few years.
Even like because we were gone most of 2016, and when we came back, there was several that had
like,
just popped
even,
up
like,
while we were
hopping
gone.
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm excited.
So next time you and Matt are in town, let's go on a pub crawl.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Oh, that Matt would love that.
After you guys have the babies.
Yeah, we gotta have.
You guys gotta have the babies first, but
hey, you can bring a baby to a brewery.
It's true.
I mean, that's what we're doing.
Double stroller.
Yeah, that one you go to is really cool though. They have like a play set and all of that.
Oh really?
It's like family.
Oh yeah,
cool.
This one down here. I think Wichita should have this, where it's a brewery, but also like they have like it's very kid friendly, and they have kids like a kids play.
Yeah, I don't think any or any of that.
No, I don't think Norton's. Norton's has an outdoor area, but it's not
like
kid
play area.
It's for kids too. That way, kids can just run around and play, and then you can just drink more beer. Maybe that's not a good idea.
No, have some people supervising.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, if you're going to be a parent, you just have to learn how to be responsible first,
it's
right?
True. Do that part first.
Anyway.
So it's kind of the last big question, but what does Wichita mean to you?
Wichita means literally the first word that popped in my head was home, and I think that home is such a general phrase, but like for me, it like home means like comfort and community, and I just I feel very at peace when I'm driving into Wichita. I just feel like this is where my heart is, and this is where my people are, and I just feel very I feel like that's where I belong,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel like Wichita. I love being able to call Wichita home. It'll always be home.
Definitely. Well, Wichita misses you guys, and
yeah.
We really appreciate you coming on. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun. Yeah, it's great.
We will link up all of the blog and Instagram and everything like that. Just real quick, the Instagram is it just Kelsie Brown blog?
Yeah, just at Kelsie Brown blog. That's Kelsie with an IE. My name is so weird. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys so much. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks, Kelsie.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wichita Life Podcast. If you enjoyed, please share it with a friend and leave a review on whatever podcast platform you use. I'm putting all of the podcasts on YouTube now as well, and we'll start doing video podcasts for some episodes in the future, so go to Wichita Life Podcast on YouTube and subscribe today. If you want to support the podcast, head over to our Patreon page. Thanks for the listen.